particular enclave.
But there's so much space on the Big Island.
Yes, there is. I didn't say everyone in the world would go to Maui.
Okay.
I just said more will go to Maui.
Okay. Well, thank you. All right.
Yes.
So, being that I live on the Big Island now.
Yes. I could tell.
Yes.
But things are happening there.
Many.
Changes are happening
Changes
there.
are happening.
Yes.
And of course, every place on earth has its own
Of course.
specific energies, archetypes, deities.
Yes, yes.
So, and of course, it's Big Island's very primal.
Yes.
I've been getting used to the energies of the Big Island,
Yes.
but I'm very used to the energies of like the angels and ascended masters and beings like that. And I understand they're there too, but I don't feel their presence there as strongly.
Well, you may simply be in a phase of your life where it's not necessarily important for you to pay that much attention to that. They're always around.
Right.
Again, it's just about what's important and relevant for you to perceive at any given moment based on where you're at in your process and your journey.
True.
I know. That's
But-
why I said it.
But there's certain things I prefer more than others. So,
But are you doing the things that will actually allow you to experience what you say you prefer, or are you doing things that won't? Are your actions in alignment with your excitement and your preferences?
I think that I was in a neutral state for a long time.
Yes.
And now I'm shifting more into my true north
All right.
there.
All right. And then, so
then they should align.
then if you allow them to align, if you act on them in an aligned way, then everything will be experienced as being aligned. Yes, of course.
Okay. 'Cause-
Again, it doesn't mean that you might not test yourself now and then to make sure you actually are aligned or are just pretending that you are. All of you will do that from time to time. Is it just lip service, or are you actually walking your talk, as you say? But as soon as you know you are walking your talk, then in a sense, you won't really need to, shall we say, trick yourself, because it won't really matter what happens to you anymore. It will only matter what you do with what happens. You will not be gauging your serenity on what happens around you. You will simply be choosing your state and able to process anything that happens, no matter how it looks, no matter what anyone else's opinion or experience of it is, no matter how it originated, because you will know that you can give positive meaning to everything for yourself and extract the benefit from it. It doesn't mean that you stop recognizing what's negative and what's positive. It simply means you learn how to use what's negative in a positive way. And by being the living example to others in that way, you give them the option of recognizing that they can do that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes. Okay. Okay.
But you yourself are choosing to live on an edge because it's exciting, isn't it?
Yes. And it's kind of odd there because sometimes it feels like time just stands still. And then other times it feels like once something's happened, then there's no time at all.
Well, time is an illusion.
True.
So it's up to you how you experience it. But I remind you, because it is flexible, because it is just a projection of consciousness, because it is just a side effect of your consciousness shifting through billions of parallel realities, that creates your experience called time and change and space. As I remind you, when you are in the moment, when you're doing what you love to do, and it seems as if no time is passing, you're not paying attention to the passage of time, you actually aren't creating as much time. If it feels like half an hour has gone by and you look up from what you're doing and everyone says, oh no, it's been 5 hours, you have only aged half an hour because you only created half an hour of time.
Yes.
Yes? That's how you stay young, by living in the moment, and paradoxically how you live longer, by staying young, by living in the moment. By not creating as much time, you paradoxically live for a longer time.
True. Now I understand that. At the same time, I wonder
Yes,
why.
but some of them did not.
Oh, okay. Geologically, though, places on Earth, are there some places where time, in quotations, may move slower or quicker,
Yes.
quicker,
Yes.
just because of its placement?
Yes,
Okay.
and because of the collective consciousness in that area. Different cultures experience time in different ways. And therefore, they may imbue that. There may be an aspect of the collective consciousness of Gaia itself, of the earth itself, that reflects the different ways in which the expressions of consciousness on the planet actually view and experience the concept of time. So different places may be set up to experience time in different ways for the different cultural experiences that you can have on the planet. Yes. Okay. So time may move differently in different areas on the earth. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Especially in the areas you call the portals. In a sense, that's what they're all about. Portals are kind of like time twisted up in a way that you can experience many different dimensions of time in one spot.
I like that.
Oh, all right. I'm glad you like that.
Okay, thank
Anything
you.
else?
Yes. So I recently did a DNA test because I was curious about my
Yes.
physical DNA.
Yes.
And some of it came back like how I thought it would be, and some of it was like, oh, this is interesting.
All of you are far more mixed than you think. Remember,
Yeah.
you are all hybridized, and you have many different things throughout your history that you may not know exist within you as DNA markers.
And I didn't really think too much of it, but the only thing it brought up was wondering who the great-great-grandparents might have been, because I was like, oh, I didn't know I had that.
All right. Well, maybe
And
you
it's
should
fine.
take a trip to Scotland and find out.
Yes, Scottish was the most. So that was very interesting. Didn't expect that.
All right. Well, have a good trip, lassie.
And then one last question. Throughout the ages, the rose has been a symbol of many things to
Yes,
people.
it has.
And it just seems like it's such a special thing. And I was wondering if you could talk about the vibration of it and why. Just
Again, it's a big subject. However, you are making energetic connections from your present to other simultaneous existences that have a lot to do with that, such as organizations called the Rosicrucians. Yes?
yes.
Also, all the way back to the idea of the Rose Chapel and the lineage of Mary and Jesus.
Right.
So you're connected to that. That's another aspect of DNA that exists within you.
Okay.
You may wish to investigate that a little bit.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you, Bashar. My love to you and all.
Our
the
unconditional
signing.
love to you as well. Is it time for your break?
It's time for our Ustream.
All right. We will answer a few questions from your Ustream audience
Okay, thank you.
before your break, before the holotope meditation.
Okay.
Hello, Tadeo.
Nania.
I'm a little husky.
Yes.
Arf, arf.
Are you pulling a sled?
No, I'm pretty footloose and fancy free.
All right. What would you like to discuss?
Okay, so we have a few Ustream questions. One of them is, who created or invented DNA?
Who created DNA?
I know, I can only pass these questions on to you.
Yes, yes, yes.
And do all physical beings, regardless of form and location in the multiverse, have some form of DNA?
DNA is the first physical expression of consciousness in physical terms. It represents the idea of the spiral of creation from as above, so below, and also going from below to as above. So it's a double spiral, one coming down, one going up. That's simply the way the idea expresses itself in physical terms first. So you are all first and foremost actually DNA beings, and then the DNA attaches to itself other cellular structures in a sense like a suit, that it can then have mobility and senses and perceptions within the idea that create personality so you can have physical experiences. Every being within the multiverse that experiences itself in some way, shape, or form physically has a type of template that represents what it is and how it experiences itself. It's not exactly always what you recognize as DNA, so we'll just use the more generalized term. There is always an energy template that exists that lays down the parameters for how the consciousness crystallizes itself in physical terms. If you want to call it DNA, you can, but it, in some cases, is nothing like what you understand DNA to be. However, you will still always find, this is what we have always found in our investigation with the hundreds of civilizations we have encountered that are physical, you will always find some expression of the spiral in there, even if it's not exactly the idea of chromosomes in the way you understand DNA. It might even just be a pattern in something, but it will always be presented almost like a fingerprint of creation, a fingerprint of the link between as above and so below. It's something that just gets frozen in physical terms when something experiences itself as coming from an energy form, a spirit form, into a physical representation. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. Actually, it's fascinating, and it's so efficient.
Yes. But it is also representative, because that means there's always a bridge, there's always a link, there is always a clue that lets you know you can always know you're connected to source, always. There is no such thing as being disconnected from it. You can create an experience of disconnection, but you're using your connection to create the experience of disconnection. In fact, if you look at it backwards, being able to have an experience of disconnection is proof that you're connected, because if you weren't connected, you would have no experience at all. So that spiral fingerprint is, in a sense, your clue that there is always a link and a connection to source.
Okay, and when people ground themselves, the idea of grounding,
Yes.
does that lower your vibration?
No, it can in fact raise it. The idea of grounding in that context simply means you are stabilizing your frequency. You are honing your frequency to something that is already an expression of your natural self. So your natural self will relate to and identify with the nature around you in such a way that, like a tree, you put down roots very strongly and ground yourself so that you have an anchor from which to rise into the stars, into the heavens, without detaching yourself from the grounded, balanced state. It's just creating an anchor point that allows you to explore higher frequencies without becoming disoriented, without becoming ungrounded in that sense.
That's very helpful. And then lastly, one of the questions was about the hybrid children.
Yes.
And people would like to be able to visit those enclaves where they'll be staying or they are staying.
Yes, well, some people will in the future.
So they probably want to know maybe, what are their chances of getting to interact with the children when they're in the enclaves?
It depends on many factors, not the least of which is the formula. When you raise your frequency, you certainly make it more likely that you'll be able to interact with beings of similar high frequency, which the children, the hybrids, will be. So, what are your chances? They're exactly as good as the odds that you create for yourself and the probabilities you create for yourself by aligning with your true vibration, by acting on your passion to the best you can with no insistence on the outcome. You determine those odds utterly.
You say that so well.
Oh, well, thank you.
So we have a little surprise for you.
Yes.
First of all, Samasi is going to come up here and she wants to ask you some questions for herself, and then she has something to give you from all of us.
Oh, all right.
Okay?
Yes.
Hello, Bashar.
And good day to you.
I have a hybrid friend,
Yes.
and her name is Ethiopia.
Yes.
She is a shapeshifter.
Yes.
She can turn into a deer and a fox, and she is also a
Yes.
girl.
Although remember, that's the effect, but the idea is that she is using parallel realities to create that presentation of herself. Yes?
Yes.
All right.
So, My mommy was meditating and connecting to a deer image.
Yes.
She opened her eyes and she saw a deer outside the house. Who or what was that?
Didn't you just say it was Ethiopia?
I didn't.
But you did, because you said Ethiopia can present herself as a deer. So why wouldn't it be Ethiopia?
Good point.
Thank you. We sometimes make them.
So
Yes?
I enjoy playing with water, and
Yes.
sometimes I feel like I can move it with
Yes.
my mind.
Yes. Well, it's highly possible since you're inventing the water with your consciousness anyway. When there is no difference between you and the water, it will move. Just like you move yourself. You do know that you are mostly made of water, yes?
Yes.
Well, you move yourself, don't you?
Yes.
Just because you think the water is separate from you is the only reason that most people can't move it. When you understand that there is no separation, it's just a different expression and a different reflection of you, it will move as you move. It will flow with you.
Interesting.
Yes, it is. And? One more?
Yes. I would just like to say thank you, Bashar, for your love and encouraging us to use the formula. We would like to give you flowers. And by the way,
Yes.
you are a very good father to your children, and we all love you. Happy Father's Day, Bashar.
Thank you. A father could not be more proud of the children that you are of the cosmos. We thank you and our unconditional gratitude, appreciation, and love to you all.
Thank you, Bashar. Happy Father's Day. And we'll have the holotope now.
Please take a short break. We will resume this transmission to give you your holotope meditation to help crystallize in the energy of the day. How's it going?